We're in the bye week. We're looking at the future of this Texas A&M program, and I think you got to hammer wide receiver in the transfer portal here soon.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Adrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. And on the show today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk a little bit about someone's got to step up in the running back room after the injury to Le'Veon Moss. We're going to talk about the Auburn game. We're going to break it down, look at it, break everything down there. But I want to start the show today talking about why I think Texas A&M needs to hammer receiver in the portal. I was sitting today trying to think of something to talk about on the show, and you got a bye week in New Mexico State, so we don't want to spend a week and a half breaking down that. And I thought this would be a good conversation to have because I was sitting thinking to myself, what does A&M need to get in the portal? What's a position they need to hammer in the portal? And then I went, well, defensive line, no. Linebackers, no. I like the young guys. Secondary, maybe, but you got a lot of young talent there too. Offensive line, maybe. Offensive line, you can make the argument. Quarterback, no. Running back, no. I feel good. You got coming in the class, and it's receiver. I think that your young guys, you look at the season at receiver. Yeah, you've got some young guys. There's no question there. You've got some young talent in the receiver room. But at the end of the day, I think you need to go get a guy in the wide receiver room. And I think that the responsible people, Andrew, Texas A&M's a run-first football team. Let's bolster up the offensive line and get some running backs. Yeah, I don't think you need running backs. I think you're good there. Bolster up the offensive line. Sure, I agree with you on that. But at the end of the day, yes, Texas A&M's a run-first team right now, and I think they're going to be. I don't see that changing, especially if Marcel Reed is your quarterback of the future. Now, I still believe you need to have a great wide receiver one, and we talked about this on the show yesterday. Debris Barber, now that he's back and healthy, looks good. He looks really solid, but he's a guy that he's a great player, and I'm excited to see what the rest of the season holds for him. But then Noah Thomas, he's been good. He's given you 3 touchdowns. He's given you 367 yards. Cyrus Allen's been solid. Like, you have some good receivers on this team, but you just don't have that guy that can just go get open, that can just always go get open and find a seam and find a way to be open. And I'll tell you this, there's one player in the portal that I would have loved to have a second chance on. And it's a player that I believe visited Texas A&M, if I remember correctly, but I know we were in it for him. And that's Keandre Lambert-Smith, who ended up going to Auburn and is putting up massive, massive numbers. And he just looks great, this player. So let's pull up the numbers on him. Obviously, he's on a terrible football team. Yeah, he's got 34 catches for 657 yards and 7 touchdowns. He has had a massive season on a bad football team. He would have been an incredible addition to this Texas A&M football team. And, like I say, now it's a little frustrating now at this point because it's like I would have really loved to have that guy on this football team. And, looking at your stats, you've only got 1,643 receiving yards in the year. But still, the point stands of what I'm saying. You've got a lot of good wide receivers. I don't know if you have any great wide receivers. That's my concern. I think that the transfer portal, I think the best way to use the transfer portal, what Coach Elko had to do this offseason, I don't think he's going to have to really do a lot in the future. I think he's going to want, you don't want to be Dabo over at Clemson but you also don't want to be the team that literally brings in a brand new football team every single year. You want to be in the middle of that. You want to be the team that just goes and lands players at necessary positions. And so what I'm saying is, I don't think, you don't have to go get the $1 million quarterback. You don't have to go get the $1 million pass rusher this offseason. I really don't. I mean, you obviously are going to have to replace Scorton because he's going to probably move on to the NFL. But I don't think you need to go get those type of pieces. I think what you need to do is go get a receiver. And I'm serious. And some might say, and the sad reality of college football is now you have to look at it as a budget and a salary cap. And you have to say, well, I mean, is it worth, knowing the type of team we are, is it worth spending money to go get a wide receiver? I think it is. I just think if you could give, I think Keandre Lambert-Smith is a great example of what we're talking about here, because he's a guy that was, I thought Texas A&M had a really solid shot to land, and and they missed him. At the time I was like, well, whatever. I feel great about our receivers. Now I wish we had him. For sure. And that's the type of guy you need, a guy like that. And what's funny is I don't even really think he was the, when you look at in the portal, he wasn't that guy. Obviously he was looking for a lot of money and all that, but I don't know if he was the guy that wasn't that guy that I'm talking about. The surefire, solid wide receiver one. Was he that guy? I'm not sure. He became that guy for Auburn, and I wish he'd have been that guy for Texas A&M. But looking at that, I think that's what Texas A&M needs to do this offseason, is go get the $600,000 receiver. I'm serious. I mean, not to say Barber and Allen haven't been bad. It's kind of like, going to having your NBA team trade for a role player. I think they're really, really good role players. And I think Barber might be the best receiver on this team now, but I still think there's nothing wrong with them. I'm not saying that they're not good. They're great players. They're great additions to this wide receiver room. I'm simply saying, I think you could go get someone to be that guy who is going to give you 1,000 yards, who's going to be open on third down, who's going to be able to create space and make life easier for whoever your quarterback is next season. That is how I would spend portal money. I mean, sure, go bring in a big-time offensive lineman, bring in a big-time pass rusher, bring in a big-time corner safety. You could use all that. But what I'm saying is, my priority right now, I think the top of my priority list is the wide receiver position. It's just, some might say it's not super valuable to this team, and I would just simply say I disagree a little bit. I agree it's not as valuable as running backs or other positions, but I think that you're in a good spot in some of these positions. I believe in the future there. I don't know how much I believe in the future. You don't got a ton coming in the class. Your young guys, will some of them develop? Is Terry Bussey going to end up being a receiver for the rest of the time? What's going to happen? There's a lot of question marks up in the air, but regardless, you're still going to be pretty young at the wide receiver position next year, and I would go get a really good veteran to come in and be the alpha dog in this wide receiver room. I think that helps this team a ton. I think it helps this offense a ton, and I think it helps, let's say it's Marcel Reed or Wigman, whoever's your quarterback, I think it helps them a ton as well. So, I'm really anxious to see what this, and I know I can already see people, in the comments saying, well, we're focused on the C. Yes, I'm not trying. I don't, do we really want to talk about New Mexico State for 6 straight episodes? You know what I mean? I wanted to try and get a little something different here. And so that's why, is it a super relevant right now conversation? No, but I think it's relevant because I think we need to remember this season when we get 4 months down the road and we're going, okay, we need or 3 months down the road, whatever it is, 2 months, whatever. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Sooner than you think, actually. We need to go get a portal guy. And I think that's going to happen soon. So, that is the way I'm looking at this. That is the way I am looking at this, the future when it comes to the wide receiver position. I think you got to go make something happen and go get a guy. Let me know y'all's thoughts on this. Once again, this is not a conversation we're going to have again until the portal opens. But do you agree? Does Texas A&M need a really, really solid wide receiver one alpha dog type of player in the transfer portal? Or do you believe in the young talent and future currently on the roster. I'm really curious to hear y'all's thoughts on that. We're going to talk about this Auburn game, what to pay attention to. What are we looking for? Should we be more scared than we are? We'll talk about that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs is the tool to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you are not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. So this Auburn game is going to be an interesting one. And I'll tell you, I am not super concerned about this game. I don't want to send off these, we should be panicked about this game. I think you should be panicked about every game. I think you should always respect your opponent and look at it that way. But still, my point here is this. Looking at Auburn, I think this is a game that the players won't, because Coach Elko is really good at making sure his players are ready. I'm sure there'll be the conversation is, obviously, if Auburn was good, you'd be having this conversation about both teams, because you'd be saying, well, is Auburn looking past to Alabama for the Iron Bowl? Is Texas looking past, or is A&M looking past Auburn for the Texas game, the rivalry of one of the best rivalries in college football? Revival of one of the best rivalries in college football. That would be a narrative. I think that narrative, honestly, right now is only on Texas A&M's side, just because of how bad Auburn has been. I don't think they're going to show up in the Iron Bowl. I think it's on the road this year. I just don't. I don't see them showing up for that game. So, looking at the Auburn game, I think I've talked about it. I think Auburn is a good, awful team. And what I mean by that, when I say that, is I think that for a bad team, they're good. If you don't play well, they can beat you. I believe that. I believe if you do not play well, like I look at talent. I'm a big believer in talent. So, for example, I've seen a lot of people say Auburn is worse than Mississippi State. I do not agree with that, personally. I do not agree with that. I think Auburn has been in a lot of these games, and they've lost, but they've been in them. And honestly, they've shot themselves in the foot in some of them. I've watched every Mississippi State game. I've watched every Auburn game. I think Auburn's a better football team. And looking at the Auburn game for Texas A&M, what I'm scared of is, Auburn is looking for a way to build momentum for next year. I mean, I'm not saying the seat is heating up for Hugh Freeze, but I mean, I think his record is worse than the previous coach at this point. Like he's been really bad, Hugh Freeze. I mean, his teams have not been great, and they're looking for that win that says, "Oh, here we go. We're fired up. We're gonna win the We're gonna be good next year," right? They're looking for that win. They're looking for the will be good next year. It's kind of like when you're on the 18th tee box and you pipe one down the middle, and my dad always calls that a comebacker. Auburn's will be looking for a comebacker against Texas A&M. They'll be looking for it against Alabama as well. But I think if you're an Auburn fan looking at this game, you'd rather play probably A&M at home than Alabama on the road. So they're looking for a comebacker. You can't be the comebacker. You were the comebacker in that the law when you lost and it was the Cadillac Williams game, you were the comebacker there. You don't want to be the comebacker here. So for the Auburn game, I mean, like we've talked about this game a little bit over the last week and a half, whatever. I think that their defense is okay. I'd say they have a solid defense. And then their offense. What's interesting about them, I saw the stat the other day on Feinbaum. They move the ball really well. Like they're like yards per play is like insane, but they can't score. So point is, you got to be careful. You got to bend, not break against this team. They struggle in the red zone. I also found this out too. I was doing more research again. They don't have a kicker. Their kicker is like sick, and their backup kicker is awful. So you got that going for you, which is why the bend, don't break helps even more. Because if they can't make a field goal, as long as you don't give up 7, you might be giving up 0. But I think this Auburn team is one that Texas A&M can't overlook. I think that you need to go in, you need to run the ball. I think you need to push the ball downfield a little bit through the air as well. And then on defense, they've got that really good running back, Jarquez Hunter. That guy's really, I feel bad for him because he is, I think he's the best running back in the SEC on one of the worst teams in the SEC, and he's still putting up great numbers. If he was on a different team, I think he'd be working himself into, second, third round NFL draft territory, but he's on a bad football team. I still think scouts will be able to find the talent there, but you get what I'm saying. So I think that this game is going to come down to Texas A&M's defense bending and not breaking, as I've talked about. And I think that you have to find a way to score touchdowns. I think that, and once again, this will be your first SEC game without, Le'Veon Moss, which means it's Daniels, it's Smith, it's Bussey. If you use Bussey that way. So that's going to be something to monitor. How does Texas A&M handle the running back situation, which we're getting ready to talk about here in a second, so I don't want to dive too deep into that. I think you'd love to see receivers you'd love to see Jabri Barber have a good game. You'd love to see your receivers play well in this game. It is not, it's that type of game where I think you would love to see these weapons play well. And you would just love for something to build your confidence against Texas. You should beat the crap out of New Mexico State. If you beat the crap out of Auburn, I just think you're coming off that South Carolina loss, winning 2 games in a row, and you're feeling really good. A big road win. You're feeling good heading into this game against the Longhorns. And it's a game that will make or break your playoff hopes. This is a massive game for the Aggies. And, that Texas game. But now, once again, you can't overlook the Auburn game. You got to win that game first. You got to win that game for the Texas game to matter. Now, it's going to matter regardless, but if you lose to Auburn, your playoff hopes are shot, and at that point, you're just wanting to beat Texas, and there's not much on the line, maybe a better bowl game, but it's not going to be anything when it comes to playoff hopes. So, you really need them to show up in this game. You need the offense to show up. You need the defense to show up. Auburn, they've got Lambert Smith, who we just got done talking about when saying you need to transfer receiver. Kid's a stud, man. He's really good. You need to slow him down. You need to slow Jarquez Hunter. That quarterback, Peyton Thorne, is liable to make some mistakes. I think he's been playing a hair better of late, but still, it's not a lot better. He's been playing a hair better. So get in his grill, get pressure on him. If you're in his grill all day, he will turn the ball over. That's just a fact. He's proven that throughout his couple years down there. So get in his face all game long. He will turn the football over. And I think that's the key to beating him. If you turn him over a few times, you're going to beat him. You're going to beat him. But still, you need your offense to show up and play well too. I'd rather win this game by a ton. Go win this game by 3 touchdowns. Don't let this be an interesting football game. So that is kind of how I would look at this game. That is what Texas A&M needs to do to get the win, in my opinion. But it's a game that this team and us fans need to not overlook because we know what's the following week, but you can't overlook it. We're going to talk about kind of what this running back position is going to look like, and we'll do that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5 APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Also want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So looking at the running back room, it's been rough for the Aggies this year. You lost Reuben Owens before the season starts. You lose Le'Veon Moss for the year last game against South Carolina. Now you're really left with EJ Smith, Amari Daniels, EJ Smith, and of course potentially Terry Bussey. But the question is, will EJ Smith step up? I mean, here's the deal. Amari Daniels is going to be fine. I once again, the fact that we're talking about Texas A&M's third string running back and you still feel pretty confident, he's a really good player. You're fortunate to have that. Would I rather have Reuben Owens than Le'Veon Moss? Yeah, I think we all would. But at the end of the day, Texas A&M is fortunate to have a great third string running back in Amari Daniels, who's really going to, I mean, I personally believe it's a step down, but it's not as big of a step down as some other teams would be facing if they were in this same situation. Not a lot of teams, can lose two running backs and still be in a good spot. That's just the reality. So knowing that Texas A&M is still in a good spot after losing a couple players at the running back position is huge. EJ Smith is going to have to step up because at the end of the day, yes, Amari Daniels is going to be the guy, and I think he's going to be the guy. I think he's getting a lot of carries. But I still think you're going to see EJ Smith come in and give Daniels a breather here and there. I think that's the reality. So, it's hard to play every snap at running back. I think you're going to see Smith's role is going to, of course, increase. His snaps are going to, of course, increase. He's going to be out there more. And I think that is definitely a positive for this team because I think it's good to get him more reps, but it's not a positive. I want to take that back because you'd rather Le'Veon Moss, Reuben Owens be out there. But I think another point to take this a step further, having EJ Smith as your fourth string running back, it's a solid. He's a guy that's experienced in college football. He's played, previously at the Power 5 level. Now, like before his transfer to A&M, he's played some big time football, and it's great to have that this deep into your room now. The question is, do they get Terry Bussey involved at all in the running back room? I'll be really excited to see what happens there. Does he get involved? Does he start to be used as a natural running back rather than just kind of they use him in the gadget systems and all that, and they have some gadget stuff for him. So how do they end up using Terry Bussey, if at all? That's going to be something very interesting for the rest of the season here as you're fighting to make the college football playoff. So what happens with Texas A&M's running back room is going to be interesting. It's going to be an important part of the season, knowing how much Coach Klein wants to run the football, or OC. I mean, you're going to want – they run the ball. I don't think much is going to change with the offense. You got to hope that Amari Daniels and Smith and maybe Bussey are able to step up and help keep this room afloat, missing your two guys in Owens and Moss. That's going to do it for this week here at Locked On Aggies. Thank you all so much for being here every single day. I really appreciate it. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Hope everyone really enjoys football this weekend. I always say it's kind of nice every once in a while to sit back and enjoy a football game without the stress of, I'd rather be watching my team play, of course, but sometimes it's nice to sit back and not be too concerned about having to worry about your team. So everyone gets to enjoy that this week before a few big-time games to finish out the season for the Aggies. Have a great weekend. Enjoy football. Enjoy some college basketball, maybe some NFL. Really appreciate y'all stopping by. Have a great rest of your day, a great weekend, and we will see y'all on Monday right here on Locked On Aggies.